Hi, welcome to Bleav in Clemson Football with Levon Kirkland. I'm Will Vandervort. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being patient. We're a little behind today. We had some technical difficulties, but we're up and running, Levon. We got it going. We got everything set, man. I got it before we get started here, and we got our sponsors. I want to thank them first. Sponsored by the Clemson Insider, the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics and recruiting. Also, Tip It Back Sports Grill, the place to be to watch your college football action this season. Tip It Back Sports is located at 215 Pelham Road in Greenville, South Carolina. And then, of course, we want to thank the great folks at betonline.ag. As always, appreciate you guys joining us today. We'll have more from our sponsors here in just a minute. But before we do that, guys, I don't know if you know this, but Levon's just getting back really into town because it's Sunday. Levon, tell the people where you were at on Sunday. I know where you were at. You were sending me pictures and stuff, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool where you were at.
It was pretty cool. I was in Mexico City. And believe it or not, they have a tremendous fan base for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And me, Greg Lloyd, Maurice Pouncey, Cordell Stewart, and Lamar Woodley were all there together. So we got different classes of Pittsburgh Steelers in there from the 90s to the 2000s and beyond. And we just had an amazing time. The pictures I was showing you were from the Pepsi Center in New Mexico. And there were over 3,500 crazy, and I mean crazy, Pittsburgh Steelers fans. I actually had a young lady that came up to me. I was about to sign an autograph, and she was crying. Now, that's rock star status. It really is.
I wouldn't know what that's like.
Let me tell you what it's like, man. It's amazing. But she was crying. I mean, other people were like, it's such an honor. Oh, my God, Mr. Kirkland. And so on with the other guys. So they gave us an ovation when we went on stage. And that's what probably a lot of people saw when we were on stage. I stood up. I wasn't going to kneel down. And that fan base went berserk. It went nuts. It did. It was so awesome. It really was.
Yeah, and the terrible towels were twirling. It was everything.
Yes.
As you guys, it was a watch party, and you watched the Pittsburgh at Las Vegas Raiders game, and of course a big victory for our Steelers, and that probably made it even more special, right, Levon? That it was a win, and
especially over the Raiders.
Yeah, especially over the Raiders, and they played so well, and so pretty cool, man. You were sending me pictures and stuff, and it was cool. And then the next day, Steelers.com, they did a story on you guys being there and everything, and that was pretty cool too. I sent you that shot so you could go read it. So just great stuff, and that was awesome, man. And I wish it was as awesome. Now I will say this: I know you were in Mexico City getting ready for all that. Death Valley was lit, dude. On Saturday, it was lit.
I saw some of the game.
Yeah,
while we were doing a tour, so I thought it really came across very well. I thought that Clemson played well enough to win that game. And in a lot of ways, they probably should have won that game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was good to see us play up. Our defense played, I thought, pretty well for the most part, handling their big receivers. So, yeah, it looked good, too. I was watching it on somebody's camera, somebody's phone the whole time. And the coverage was great, man. Death Valley looked amazing. It was a beautiful day. Only thing that didn't happen our way is that the Tigers came up with a loss.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that, kind of break it down a little bit, get into kind of what happened that transpired and led to that loss. Give y'all our opinion on what we thought from what we saw. But before we all do that, as I mentioned earlier, let's thank our sponsors for helping us out. And like you said, we are sponsored by the Clemson Insider, the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics and recruiting. We appreciate Robert McCray allowing us to use their platform on YouTube and Facebook and all the places that we can be on Twitter or X, whatever you call it. We do appreciate that opportunity and to be there each and every week, because we're there. If you're just joining us for the first time, we are live. We do this every Tuesday at around 6:15. We'll go for about an hour or so and talk Clemson football. May throw in a little bit of Steelers that you just saw here and there, but most of the time it's all about the Clemson Tigers and Clemson football. And so we do this throughout the season, sprinkle in a couple of them during the off season as well. So always remember to check us out each week on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X if you can. Levon's got it on his page. You can go to my page as well. We got it at Steeler Will, also on X. There's lots of different ways to find us as we're doing this live. And if you miss it and you want to come back later, it'll be on the Clemson Insiders YouTube page as well. So you can go back and rewatch it or watch it if you just got to come in late and watch it. So if you can't be there live when we do it live. So it's always available to you. And you can go back and watch the old podcast if you want to as well. So we appreciate you joining us, and we appreciate the Clemson Insider doing this for us. And as I said, we also got our sponsors at Tip It Back Sports Grill, 215 Pelham Road in Greenville, South Carolina. That is the place to be this football season if you want to watch the NFL or college football. Tip It Back Sports has all the biggest games from around the country on their mini TVs, including Clemson games, South Carolina games, and all the games from the Atlantic Coast Conference and the SEC. If it's the NFL you're looking for, Tip It Back Sports has all the Sunday games as they do the Sunday ticket. So they have all the home games for the they have all the games for the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. So if you're a Steelers fan and you're looking to, find a Steelers bar in the area, you can go to Tip It Back Sports Grill there as well. So Levon and myself are going to try to do a game like he just did over there where we come in and do a show. And so we'll do a Steelers game and do the podcast at the same time. So we'll let you know when we get that ironed out. We're working with Tim and his people over there at Tip It Back Sports Grill. But Tip It Back Sports Grill is located at the Commons and Pelham Road. It is open 7 days a week. On Mondays, they have Twisted Trivia Night as well as Monday Night Football. There's also karaoke and live music throughout the week. On Friday nights, they'll have live music. Every Saturday is college football all day long, and every Sunday, as I mentioned, is designated for the NFL and for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So go see Tim Seco and his staff at Tip It Back Sports Grill, located at the Commons at Pelham. Tip It Back Sports Grill is the place to be for all your college and NFL action this season. We also want to thank Bet Online. As you know, football is back, and Bet Online is your number one information source for all your sports wagering info with all the up-to-the-minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns. Get the latest odds, spreads, and totals from the NFL and college football at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates and statistics, news, and odds. From week 1 all the way to the college football playoff and Super Bowl, BetOnline gives you the access to the best football promotions and contests available anywhere online. So head on over to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Remember to use your promo code Bleav, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, BLEAV for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, Bet Online, where the game starts. And where we're going to start is we're going to start with the Clemson-Florida State game as the Tigers came on the short end of a 31-24 overtime loss, Levon, to the Florida State Seminoles. First of all, I want to say it was a great football game. It really was. I mean, you had everything you want in a football game. It was pretty clean for the most part. Really not any penalties. I mean, there were some that probably should have been called. I know some Clemson fans are going to talk about that. Want to talk about that. There was also but there was big plays on both sides. Both defenses made big plays. Excuse me. But the only thing that disappointed on the Clemson end was the final score.
Right.
31-24 loss. Get your thoughts initially on that.
Yeah, sure. I really thought it was a great game. I went back and watched the game over again. And Clemson probably could have won that game very easily. They really could. There was some time when they were up 24-17, I think. That was when he got sacked and it's a fumble, recover for a touchdown. That's huge. It would have been okay if it was just a sack. You kept on the ball. Maybe you punt the ball away. I thought our defense was playing well enough where they could have stopped them. But that was the opportune time to put Florida State away. And what we did was kind of went backwards again and gave them an opportunity to tie the ball game. They did. We took it to overtime and just didn't have enough to win that game. I think they're getting close to being a pretty good team, but again, we're letting things happen to us that is keeping us from winning. We're not making the key plays. We're, in some form or fashion, we're doing something that kind of derails us. We're doing well at a certain point, playing great football. Then the next thing you know, we fumble the ball. Or another time that we always talk about these, Will, the momentum series. We had a momentum series, and at the very end, we let them score. And there were two opportunities. There was one where the safety, number 9, Mickens, I think his name is Mickens, right?
That's correct.
He lets the guy, he's already off. He lets the guy go in for an easy slant to be a first down. What he could have done was played a little bit more inside leverage. If he had played a little bit more inside, he'd been able to break on that ball or make him throw a tougher pass. Inside pass is very easy. Slant is very easy for most quarterbacks to make.
Mm-hmm. And
I didn't understand why he was so deep back there on that. I don't know if you remember, it was before the touchdown that he sneaked on.
Right.
And then on that,
he also busted on the touchdown on their first touchdown.
And then on that, when Travis scored on a sneak, we had a guy that was in a head-up position, zero position, and then we had a guy who was shaded over the center in a one position, and we had nobody between the guard and the tackle on a goal line situation.
And what did he do? He bounced off and went into.
He went in, which was smart on his part. Travis went in. He snuck. He got stuffed. Really, I don't know how he got stuffed. And then he just bounced out and scored a touchdown. But that series before the half was kind of disappointing, especially on the defensive side. It seemed like we stopped being aggressive, and they were able to, a quarterback like that, if you're not aggressive, he's going to be able to just march the ball down the field. Yep. He has enough weapons on the outside to do that. And we gave them the opportunity to say, hey, why don't you guys just score a touchdown before the halftime?
He also got aided by a non-holding call.
Yes,
should have happened because it was right in front of the official, and there's no way you missed that call.
And I'm so happy for my man Xavier Thomas. I thought he rushed the passer very well.
Man, he balled.
He really did. He got out the passer, man, and if he can continue to do that, that's going to be a plus for the Tigers. But it was just plays like that you're like, man, if the Tigers can just finish. Like Mafia, at some point, I know he's a big back, but at some point, he can't let people just catch him from behind. Also, Shipley, you got to be able to get to that second level and say, I see you later. Nobody should be able to catch you. Mm-hmm. So there's little things that we're not doing that's really killing us as a football team. To be honest with you, we're sitting here at 2-2, but easily the Tigers should be 4-0. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people are like, no way, but really, they should be. You look at the Duke game, all the mistakes there. You look at the Florida State game, some of the crucial mistakes there. And really, I thought they played well enough to win that game. And I was, in a lot of ways, I was encouraged that they played as well as they did against Florida State.
Yeah, the Duke game, when I look back at it, like Clemson just didn't play well. And but Duke, I thought, was the better team in the game because Duke played better the whole game. And so Clemson had opportunities to do things in that game, and they just didn't get it done. Duke did, and you give Duke the credit, right? In this game, there's no doubt Clemson was the better team.
I thought they played better. I thought they played they played a lot better than I thought they were going to play, to be honest.
They did play better than you thought. They played what I thought they would do. If you remember, I said, I love this matchup with Clemson DBs and these wide receivers. And I know everybody and their mama thought I was crazy when I said that, but I liked the matchups because I liked where Clemson was in their length on defense and the way the secondary. And I thought Clemson could get after Jordan Travis because I wasn't impressed with Florida State's run game, especially if he wasn't really going to be involved much in it, which he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. And, you know, I saw all those things. I thought, now, I didn't think the offense would play as well as it played. I'm going to admit that. Because Cade Klubnik in the offense and those wide receivers really stepped up, and they played great in the game. Florida State, in the first half, they held Clemson to like 30 yards rushing. So Clemson got those 17 points by throwing the football and throwing the football well. And so kudos to them. Now, in the second half, Clemson was able to run the football more.
Right.
And they did that. But in the first half, Clemson knew that Florida State wasn't going to let them run the ball. So kudos to those guys for stepping up, and also for Garrett Riley having a great attack. And I'll say this, and we're going to talk about the coaching staff in a minute. I really enjoyed, or really was impressed with how Dabo Swinney and his staff had them ready to play.
Yeah, you know what? It did seem like the energy was a whole lot better. They seemed like a team that was emotional. They seemed like a team that was ready to play, unlike the Duke game. And a lot of times it's about the energy when you're talking about football. Are you bringing the energy? Are you bringing the fight? And it seemed like they were doing that. And at one point in time, they really seemed to be in control of the game. You know, that fumble really cost us a little bit. And it's just, you know, Mafia probably didn't see that blitzer, and it was kind of a good blitz for them. And he just had a wide open shot, and he did miss it. I thought Brittlestew, man, we got to be able to use him a whole lot more, especially in the red zone. He's a big target at around 6'5". I really don't know how much he weighs, but I think he's a guy that you can really attack. Most of their linebackers are in between the hashes as far as the red zone is concerned. But the Tigers really did show me something. And they, you know, it's a long season. They still got a long time. They probably have to run the tables a little bit. But I saw a lot more promise than I saw in the Duke game.
Sorry, I had my mute on.
Okay.
Because I was coughing. So, yeah, I agree with you. I saw a lot more promise from this team. And I saw the coaching staff, I thought, did a great job, as we mentioned, getting them ready to play this game. And they adjusted well, I thought, too, with the second half adjustments. West did a great job. Held Florida State to 1 yard rushing in the second half, 130 total yards, and 5 punts, I think. So, I mean, they got off the field, had a lot of 3 and outs. They really got after Jordan Travis the entire game. And then on the offensive side, you know, I thought they had a great game plan going in. They made some adjustments, I think, when they needed to in crucial moments, made plays. And I'm going to start off with, you know, you mentioned XT had a great game.
XT did have a good game. Yes.
XT was dominant. I thought Nate Wiggins was unbelievable on the back end. I mean, they couldn't throw anything on him.
My homeboy that I've been telling you about ever since after the Wake Forest game.
Yeah.
Not before, but after, I told everyone on this show, we'll also confirm that this guy's a player.
He's a player.
This guy's a next level player.
Oh, I'm talking
about being in the first round type of player. So yeah,
he made some money.
I thought the whole secondary did a pretty good job.
No, the secondary.
Except for that one play.
One busted play.
That one busted play where there's no way if they spread out like that, and that number 3 guy is that close that you let him get inside like that. It's just an easy throw and catch.
Yeah, one busted. That was Mickens. He played the play fake, which he shouldn't have. He played the play fake and just left the middle of the field wide open. I also thought Trotter, but maybe Trotter was spying, and that's probably why, but he didn't get deep enough, I didn't think. Either, on the play, but he might have been spying, and that might have been why he wasn't deep enough.
Even if he was spying, I like the fact that you show like you could be coming, what we call sugaring the line of scrimmage. And then you can kind of get deep on that as well. And also, I think that's a great time to play the game a little bit, and that means you can disguise a little bit. If you're Mickens, disguise that. Show them that, hey, I'm outside leverage, and then you can jump back inside. And I'm telling you, that's an interception.
Yeah. it should have been, and it would have been if he hadn't. But he, like I said, he played the play fake and sucked up inside, and then it was over. Then at that point, the play was there. Great design, good call by them. And by the way, the fumble was a great call by Florida State because that's what you call scouting and understanding and film review. You saw Phil Moffitt was in the game. You said at that point, okay, if they're passing the ball here, we're blitzing the linebacker. Yeah. You're going. And so they called the blitz. It was basically he was a linebacker, but he's playing the nickel position in that situation. So he comes with the fire blitz and off the edge. And, Moffitt's got to stay in and recognize that and has to chip him there. If he chips him there, he probably doesn't get to Klubnik and he gets the pass off and does what he wants to do.
Right.
A lot of people are like, Levon, you play football, you understand this. A lot of people were blaming some people, and I've said a lot, some people were blaming Klubnik, saying he's got to know when to get rid of the ball. He's trusting that his guy has did his job as he's supposed to do. And so and also people don't understand, he can't see what's behind because of his helmet. Right. It takes away his peripheral vision. He has to turn his head all the way around to see if anybody's coming. So when he's rolling to his left like that, he's totally trusting that everybody on his blind side is doing their job. And in this situation, Phil Moffitt didn't do his job, and it cost Clemson a turnover.
And usually, probably running backs are usually seeing that coming from a linebacker depth. So that's like 4 to 5 yards. So when he's scanning, he's probably like, okay, I'm not seeing any linebackers. And then when he scans away, that safety that looks like he's, like a slot DB, he comes and he doesn't have enough time to see it. He should have probably just scanned and been a little safer.
He probably should have stayed in a little longer.
He should have probably stayed in longer, but I probably see that he didn't see anyone coming from the linebacker depth. He didn't recognize that guy was coming, because what you notice, they brought that defensive end really up the field very early so they can open up that gap. And Mafia just didn't stay in there long enough. He probably should have scanned again. He would have saw that guy and at least got a little bit of a chip on him. But as you saw, he kind of, nobody's coming right now. I'm getting out and trying to get in the route. And it just left him wide open. The guy hit the ball. I mean, it's a perfect hit. It's the kind of hit you want to see. And, man, the ball just bounced right for Florida State. And that's the thing at Clemson right now. We're not getting those breaks. And the only way you can get those breaks is you got to make those breaks happen. And we're not quite there. We're doing some good things, but we're still not playing winning football. We missed a field goal almost at the end of regulation that probably should have won the game for us. But you bring in a kicker that's been in grad school in Charleston, and, in that crucial situation, it's hard to make field goals. It really is. You would think that's his only job, but we got this guy off literally the streets. We got him off the streets, and we brought him in. He was close to making the field goal. I mean, it was right there. Probably should have made it any other time. Probably 9 out of 10 times he probably hit that. We missed the field goal. And it's one of those things that happen in football games to a football team where you're a good team, you're hanging in there, but the breaks are not going for you. So what do? You have to make sure that hey man, when we're in a field goal situation like that, make the field goal. If we catch a ball, score the touchdown. It's time.
Don't leave anything to chance.
It's time for us to stop being so talented. Oh, we're so talented. Oh, we're right to making plays. And we're not making enough plays to put teams away. Like I said before, those momentum series when our team score a touchdown, our defense cannot go back on the field and let them score.
Right. 17-7, talking about.
Yep. 17-7. And then we come back at the half, and really they drove the ball. They had an opportunity to score. I don't think they did. But
they kicked the field goal. They got the big pass play, and they kicked the field goal.
Right. You can't let them do that. And then on that big pass play, Shelton Williams,
Sheridan Jones.
Sheridan Jones, I'm sorry. He just opened up the gate for the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he played him head up, and he just opened it up. Just, hey, run by me. And I know at defensive back, you got to move your feet. He didn't move his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And he just got blown by. Big touchdown pass. So those are kind of things.
Should have been a big touchdown pass. Thank goodness Jordan Travis didn't hit him stride.
And it got to be, well, we got to stop that. We're at a point now where we should be good enough to win games like that, and we're not yet. And we have to give it a hump. But I can't believe somebody thought that was Klubnik's fault. What do you want him to do?
Yeah, there's lots of people. I've heard. I won't say a lot again. I've heard some people say that he was his fault, and I'm just like, I don't see how that's his fault. I mean, you know, I just don't. That's on the running back. He's got to pick everybody. Everybody in the offensive line did their job. They got their guy hat on a hat, and then he's got to pick up that blitzer coming in. That was his job. That's why he was in there. I go back and I use an example of that, not so much that way because it was more of a drop back, but on the Steelers touchdown the other night, you know, they had Warren in there, Jaylen Warren in there in pass protection.
Oh yeah,
and he's really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
They ran a stunt. The Raiders did. They ran a stunt. They brought the defensive end up the middle. He saw it and he stepped right into the middle and he knocked the defensive end off his stride. And that gave Pickett enough time to get that pass gone, and it was a 72-yard touchdown pass. Why? Because Jaylen Warren picked up the blitz, saw the stunt, knew where to go, and he picked. And it turns into a touchdown. Could have been that way for Clemson, but Maffa missed the guy. It happens. Everybody makes mistakes, but that one wasn't on Klubnik. Now, speaking of Cade Klubnik, he had a great game from a passing standpoint. Yes. He looked confident in the pocket. He stood tall. I remember on the touchdown pass to Will Shipley, he got leveled. I mean, just got blown up as they brought a blitz right up the middle, and he just stood right there, knew his guy's gonna. He threw where you did what he used to do. He threw to where the blitz was coming from.
Threw to the spot. Yeah.
Threw to the spot. Shipley gets it, runs it in for the touchdown. That gave Clemson the lead, 24-17 at the time. He played from a passing standpoint and making the right decisions in the passing game, the best he's been all 5 games he started. Not even close.
I thought so. Only the one thing that I saw with his game that I would like to see a little bit more is when he scrambles, he's going, up the middle. I would like to see him go to the hash, to the numbers, to the sideline.
Because he'll outrun people. Yeah,
he's trying to run it up the middle, and that's where all that traffic is flowing. As a coach, and you talk to running backs about this more so than you talk to quarterbacks about it. When you're running that, maybe that draw, whatever thing, like that draw, the quarterback draw, man, if you hit the hash, the numbers, you're going to the sidelines. Now, everybody has to try to chase you down from the inside. If you run it straight up the middle, you're going to have some people collision on you. And I thought there was a couple times, especially in the red zone, man, if he would have went outside a little bit more, he probably would have scored.
Speaking of that, on the play where they ran before they kicked the field goal on the 3rd and 11, and they run the draw, they run the quarterback draw with him.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought it broke. Number 7 for Florida State, I believe that was number 7. He made a play because if he doesn't make that play, touchdown. It's a touchdown.
That's what I'm talking about. A lot of times when you run inside like that, you can go like you're going inside, but man, if you bounce outside, you're going to have a lot more yardage. And that's something you see you see it enough time. You got to realize that he's only been starting for maybe 5 games or so. He's 19 years old.
5 games.
So he's going to get better. He has. I'm telling you, the kid has something. He really do. And the longer he can just mature and get better, he will. In mid-season, you will see some of that improvement.
Yeah, you're going to see this Clemson team, as we've already seen. They've gotten better each week, I think, and I think you'll see continue that. Now, the only thing Klubnik did wrong was at the end of the game. You're sitting there 3rd and 1 in overtime, and I understand the coach. First of all, Dabo took the blame for him and the coaches because he's like, we got to coach him up on this. He's got to understand in 3rd and 1 situation, we got to extend the game. Let's give the ball to our running back there. And also, it was the only time because Clemson was 0 for 4 in 3rd and 3 or closer in the game. That was one of the times where they would have been 1 for 4 because he when he took it and threw it out there, on 2nd and 1, if he just hands it to Shipley, everybody in the offensive line did their job. They blocked, and it would have been a touchdown. I mean, it was a big hole. If it's not a touchdown, it's a big gain. But he's a young quarterback, as we just mentioned. His read is to go up there, and if he sees 2 guys and he's got 3, his job is to pull it and throw it to the guy out there. But you can tell even the wide receivers were like, why am I getting the ball? What's going on here? He just got to know the situation.
You have to understand the situation. And a lot of times you want to get that to your best player. And in that situation, it's usually either Mafia or Shipley, the best guy. They're going to – I don't care if they're stacking the box or whatever like that. Those guys are going to grind to get that 1 yard, especially when you need it in that situation. And then those receivers are so wide out there. It takes so long to throw that ball out there that the defensive back can really react to it. I think the better plays, and you see this in the NFL, is when they motion that wide receiver to the line of scrimmage, and it's a short little throw. It's so quick, he catches it, and a lot of times he's able to score. And the defensive back has no time to react to it, or the defensive line. But the wide receivers are so wide in that, and that took such a long time that the DB's like, I can't believe he's throwing it. It's one of those plays as a defensive player, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. And you just go make a play. So I think in another situation, maybe you tighten up those wide receivers and you bring the guy in motion, you snap it, you throw it to him, and let him get an opportunity to run the play on the snap instead of him throwing the ball. Now you got a lot of time for those guys to react to it.
No, I agree with you. And as we look at this game, I think when we go, I want to go to the defensive side real fast. You talked a little bit about it earlier. I thought the secondary, as we said, played out of their mind. I think the defense played out of their mind. So people can understand, because people see the final score and they say, well, they scored 31 points. First of all, 7 points were scored because of the defense. The Florida State defense got 7 points, I should say. The other 7 points came in overtime when they get the ball at the 25-yard line. So that's always hard when you put the ball at the 25-yard line to say for defense, especially to that offense, to stop them. But the regulation, the whole 60 minutes, Clemson held Florida State to 286 yards. This is an offense that was averaging over 460 yards coming in. They held them to 17 points in regulation. This is an offense that was averaging 47 points a game coming in. Okay. They held Jordan Travis to 56.7% passing. They got 2 sacks on him. They got had to be at least 10 pressures. I mean, he was pressured the whole game.
One time, it was a one holding call. I'm just like, the referee must have had blindness on.
I don't know what he was doing. Seriously. There's no way you can miss that.
No way.
I understand there's times when they can't call every holding call, and I get that. But when it's right in front of you and it's one-on-one and there's no way in the world you can miss this, that's no excuse. You cannot make an excuse for missing that, Mr. Referee. No. You blew it there. You cost Clemson. And then on the next play, Clemson gets called for a pass interference penalty. So it's like you didn't call this, but then you go and call this, which the guy on the sideline had nothing to do with the not getting the holding call. But the point of it being is like, wow, you just gave them 2 free plays, basically, is what you just did. And that led to the touchdown right before halftime. So, the referee's got to call that. And then later in the game, XT's going around the corner. Okay, you miss a holding call. You know where I'm going. You can miss a holding call. Okay, we'll give you that. You can't miss hands to the face. And that darn guy had his hand right on XT's face like this. I don't even know how XT could see because it was right on his face mask, and no foul called on that either.
Well, I tell you what, because XT was bringing it off a corner extremely fast. I mean, like, his get off is amazing. If XT can maybe do a counter move,
like a little twist, like a Dwight Freeney.
Like Dwight Freeney he was famous for a spin move.
Mm-hmm.
Because what he would do was he would go speed, 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 and he would get the tackle thinking speed rush the whole time. And then about maybe 5 or 6 speed moves, he would do a counter or a spin move. And that's what XT is just missing in his game. If he could do a counter move off of his speed coming off, he's going to be a threat every time he gets on the field, especially in any passing situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the defense, I thought the linebackers played probably the best game for the linebackers. Now, I know they had a couple times when the running backs got theirs, and we knew they were going to. I mean, it is what it is. I thought overall, and here's something I want to talk about because of the way the defense played.
Right.
And I just gave you the stats. Did you see Jordan Travis's comments after the game?
No, I didn't. What did he say?
Levon, unbelievable.
Oh, he talked a little trash, right?
He said Clemson was disrespecting his wide receivers and disrespecting him, that he can't make the throws because they played man coverage all day.
Yeah, okay. I don't think that was disrespectful because for the most part, they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, so if it's that's what I'm saying. It would have been disrespectful if he had 6 touchdown passes and threw for 500 yards and Clemson kept doing it. That's disrespectful. But when they shut you down, that ain't disrespectful, dude. That's called football.
And then on that last pass he made, the touchdown pass, again, it's technique. Lucas basically almost slipped on that. He has pretty good coverage, but he kind of lets him on the outside a little quicker than he should.
Mm-hmm.
In that situation, he's got to put his hands on him. He's got to move his feet, and he got to at least, if he's going to funnel him into the safety, he got to make sure he's outside leverage. If he has him man to man, he needs to get him on that sideline. So now you got a harder throw to make, and he's going to have to make a one-hand catch.
Yeah.
Now you have a harder throw because you got to get it up there, but also now you're talking about he's got to have to navigate the sideline and try to catch the ball.
And keep in mind on that play, Nate Wiggins wasn't in the game because he got hurt at the end of their last play where they went out on downs. He got hurt on that play, knocking the ball away. So they didn't have Nate Wiggins for that play, and that would have been his guy, and that would have been his play. Nothing against Jordan Lucas. It happens. But you got to wonder.
I think Jordan, he can come along too. He has got to be, in his mind, thinking, I have got to be a better technician.
And by the way, we don't want it to be too hard on Jaden Lucas because he's a huge Steelers fan, and so he's our guy. I
think he's gonna be a really good player. I'm just saying that he's gonna have to be more of a technique guy than maybe Wiggins is. And I got to give a shout out to Carter because he did a wonderful job as far as covering the fullbacks or the running backs coming out the backfield, the little wheel route.
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job. They had one catch on him when it was a back shoulder kind of. I mean, that's kind of hard. I'm just going to say that right now against a running back and a linebacker. But he did an absolute beautiful job on those wheel routes. He really did. He can really cover the field pretty well.
Yeah, he can. Look, they did. That's why I was surprised to hear, Jordan Travis he won the game. And he should have been complimentary of the way Clemson played them because Clemson played them better than anybody's going to play them all year long. Mm-hmm. That's a fact. And he should understand. And for him to be upset, look, be upset with yourself. You didn't make the plays. Don't be upset with the way Clemson played you because you're disrespecting Clemson now. Because Levon, he was of his 3 big targets, which was, Jaheim Bell, you had Keon Coleman, and then you had Johnny Wilson. His 3 big targets. He was 13 for 31 with those guys. So 31 times he threw to him, and he only completed 13 of them. That's why Clemson played you man-to-man. Because they could. And so you're going to be mad at Clemson for playing you man. What do you want to do, drop 8 back and let you pick them apart? Come on, dude.
But I understand. I mean, you're a young guy. You just won a game you haven't won in forever. So it's probably pretty excited about it. But I thought
got to win better than that, though.
You definitely do, but that happens when you don't win a whole lot in those big games. So you kind of shoot off in the mouth. But also, Clemson has got to do a better job of making sure they win these games when they should be winning these games.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I would like to see them do a little bit more with Randall. I don't think he's just go up the seam kind of guy. They got to find a way to maximize his talents, even if they thought he's more of a boundary or he's more of a field guy. Maybe put him in the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he can make something happen in the boundary a little bit more than just, hey, I'm just going to run up the field and just occupy space. Clearly, to me, he doesn't have that kind of speed to just beat people off the route or beat them downfield. So I'd like to see them do a little something with him to maximize kind of what they're doing as far as the scheme. I can see the scheme coming along a lot better than I saw in that first game. I think as they go along, if they can stay healthy, I think there'd be a team that could run off a lot of wins.
Yeah, and then I love, by the way, for offense that I got to mention it before we go on to our next subject here. Tyler Brown, dude, kid's a baller.
Mm-hmm.
He's a baller. He played up at Greenville High School, grew up a Clemson fan, and you can tell, man, he is playing like a guy who grew up a Clemson fan. Like he's just playing at another level. When he's out there, he's a playmaker. You see that pass where he just extended himself out, put his whole body out there to catch that pass.
He's a threat.
He's a serious threat. And then also he's tough, man. He came back in after hurting his shoulder. Dabo was saying today to us in his press conference, most guys wouldn't have come back in with the injury he got to his shoulder.
Well, because he has what we call heart. You got to have that.
Yeah.
Especially when you get hurt or things not going as well. I really like that kid.
I do too.
I really do.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
And then how do you like the way that I love the schemes and how the wide receivers are getting open? I mean, that's something that wasn't there the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And you saw open guys all over the place in that game.
Right. Yeah. So it's, I think maybe sometimes we're a little impatient, but I felt better after that loss. I'm like, okay, it was a tough game. You're playing against a really tough team, and it doesn't bounce your way. Mm-hmm. I think you get a game like that, and you learn a whole lot more from losing that game that you can take forward into your next game, and understanding that you're right there. You're not far off from winning a lot more games.
And speaking of that, brings us to this thing I want to talk real fast. Coaching decisions. At the end of the game, there's a couple things that I just was really surprised with. One, they're sitting there, it's 24-24. You have a kicker who hasn't kicked in that kind of environment at the end of the game, a game-winning kick. You really don't want to kick there, in my opinion, right? No, so why in the world on second and I think it was 2nd and 9, they just got a big first down pass to Tyler Brown to get him to the 12-yard line. They're sick and they lose a yard on the next play, so it's 13. So it's 2nd and 13 or whatever, 2nd and 11, and they run this trick play instead of. You know what I'm talking about? Where they run Cade out and they run Tyler Brown, motion him over, and kind of look like they're going to do reverse. And I'm thinking, and then he's trying to hit Brittingstool, who was covered, by the way, and the defensive end knocks the pass down. It could have been disastrous. It could have been a pick six kind of play. The whole point of the play should have never been ran. And so I questioned the coaching there for Garrett Riley, like, why are you doing that? Just run the ball straight ahead or throw a slant.
Because guess what the defense is thinking? Watch out for trick plays. That's exactly what they're thinking in that situation.
Florida State
as a defensive coordinator, you're telling them, watch out for any kind of trick plays. Watch out for the screen. Watch out for the draw. So they're not going to fall for the play action or the reverse. They're not going to fall for it. Because well-coached defense are always taught in those situations, do not fall for the trick play.
Right. So you stay home.
So you, as an offense, run it, give it to your best guy, and see if he can make some hay. Especially if you're saying, hey, we're going to try to kick the field goal, which I thought with a new guy, just like you said, man, we need to score. We need to score a touchdown, and we give them the ball back to make them score a touchdown.
If you're going to pass the ball in that situation, which I'm fine with at 2nd and 11, I'm fine with passing the ball. You just threw a skinny post to Tyler Brown for a first down. You had killed the middle of the field all day long because I said going into this game, the middle of the field was Florida State's weakness. And then their best player in the secondary is out in this game, and their linebackers are not very good. You killed them the whole game over the middle and up the middle. Why in the world do you go to their strength, which is on the edges? Mm-hmm. You play up the middle. That should have been a pass up the middle, either to the tight end up the middle if you wanted to, or maybe another skinny post or something like that, or run it up the middle. Yeah. Just test it and see because there's so many more things you could have done besides that. So I question Garrett Riley on that call. That was his only bad call of the game for him, I thought.
I just don't really like those kind of plays when they're unnecessary. Mm-hmm. Like, remember last year, they play in South Carolina, they just get the safety. They're going to be kicking the ball off to us. And what do? We do some lame little trick play, and we fumble the ball because we give it to the guy who normally doesn't handle the ball in that situation.
Yep.
So you got to understand the situation, and then you come up with a play that is your best play. To do a trick play, something that you practice on maybe once in a while, probably won't work in that red zone situation because you don't do it enough. Mm-hmm. So you got your 5 different plays or so that you run, and you run a whole lot that your team can execute. Do that. Sometimes do not make this game any more complicated than you have to make it.
Yep.
And we did it on that situation when, all honesty, I've been thinking, let's get a touchdown. We can put these guys away right now.
Right.
And we gave them an opportunity. They're too good of a team to make mistakes and give opportunities to.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. And so then you had that. And then at the end of the game, after you get the stop on Florida State, you run Shipley up the middle for like 15 yards. He gets it to like midfield. And you had 7 seconds to go, and nobody ran up to the line to spike it. Like, you have a chance to throw a Hail Mary here. Mm-hmm. And the first, and so I'm like sitting there like, what are you doing? You have a chance to at least throw a Hail Mary. You're not saying it's going to happen, but at least give yourself that opportunity to make a play like that at the end of the game. But it's like the players had no idea they were doing that. And that's on coaching. The coaches got to let them know, hey, guys, if this play busts and he gets a big gain, run up to the line and spike it because that's going to give us a play. The players are just sitting there like, okay. And then they're like, oh, what? Well, you want us to run up to, they ran up real fast. It's like, okay, coaches got to relay that information before they go out onto the field, what's going to happen.
One of the favorite things as a coach that I saw when I was with the Arizona Cardinals, BA would put in situations that happen the whole week in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And for players to kind of see those situations and see what can possibly happen in the game if it's not done right or if it's done right. And those one of the things that you really got to make time to practice on. Mm-hmm. You got to see what other people are doing outside of your bubble and understand that these things are happening every week and that you got to get your team to see those things in order for them to not make those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, and the thing is, you got to, and they do practice, so people understand, they do practice, hurry up stuff. But at that point, the coaches need to let the players know, hey, guys, don't pay attention to the clock on the scoreboard. Just if the play busts, get up there real fast. And then if you spike it and the clock's over with, that's fine. Then it wasn't your fault. You did what you could. But when you just mosey on up to the line and you're like, you're looking over to the sideline and you're like, oh, what? You want us to get up and spike? Like, come on. That's coaching. Coaches got to relay that information before they go out onto the field so they know what they're doing and what the situations are. So that's on Dabo and his staff. And I think Dabo
it has to be, well. And it has to be emphasized. Like I said, this is not a stat. But if you look back on when we score a touchdown in the next momentum series, we have given up touchdowns or field goals when we shouldn't be giving up anything. That has got to be emphasized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's got to be like, hey, we just scored. We're up by 7. We can't let them score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Or really get past the 50-yard line. And that's kind of got to be their thinking going in. And you can't do that just every once in a while. That has got to be ingrained in their head, so it's muscle memory when something like that is happening. When you can tell when it doesn't, they're not doing it because everybody's looking like what's going on. And you're absolutely right on that. It could have been a chance where, hey, it's a Hail Mary. Does it happen a lot? It doesn't, but I think in college it probably could happen a whole lot more than it does.
Yeah.
I would, every chance I get, I would throw a Hail Mary. Before the half or whatever, especially, throw a Hail Mary. You never know.
You never know. And that's the whole thing, they didn't give themselves a chance there with that play. And then the last one being, and we kind of talked about it earlier, 3rd and 1, you're sitting at 3rd and 1, you got to get the first down. Yes, club needs to know the situation, but that's on the coaches to coach him up to where he understands this isn't your typical RPO. And if you're afraid your quarterback doesn't understand that, then they just call straight up run.
Just get the I formation and just hand it to your back and try to get the first down that way.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get the first down, you got a 4th down you can get it on too.
Mm-hmm.
So throwing that pass now is 4th and 2.
Yeah, now you got to kind of throw it because you're 4th
now
and 2.
Now you kind of got to throw it because you can't just say we're going to smash it because their edge guys, like you said, were their best players.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to run something out there might have been a problem. Unless you motion somebody in and crack on those guys, then maybe you could have got to the outside and say, hey, you're one-on-one with a DB, make them miss. But we put ourselves in a situation that's hard. And like you said, you got to go over those situations.
Yep.
And I don't know. I'm not saying that the Clemson Tigers do, but probably a lot of teams don't go over it enough. Where they say like this, I'm telling you, I would get a reel where all the mistakes that some teams made, you edited it, you put it together as a head coach, and you said, these are the things that are happening that could blow a game for us. So at least the players get a little bit familiar of what is going on in situations. And I guarantee you, most coaches are teaching that. Some coaches are teaching that situation. When this happens, man, get up to the ball, spike the ball. Let's give ourselves a chance.
Absolutely. Well, and now they got to, Clemson's in a situation. First of all, college football playoffs over. That's not going to happen now. They got 2 losses. That's just not going to happen. ACC championship is slim. I mean, they're still technically in it, but they got a long road to hoe. They got to win out their remaining 6 games, and then they need a lot to happen. So that's probably not going to happen, more than likely. So, Levon, that sets up for this week. They're going to Syracuse. Clemson at Syracuse, noon on ABC.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge game because Clemson they want to get 10 wins. That's still out there. So you want to get yourself in position for that. And you want to at least finish the ACC season strong. And to do that, you got to forget about what we just talked about. The disappointment. You outplayed them. You were the better team. You didn't win the game. But, Levon, you played this game for many, many years.
Yes.
The hardest thing to do is to get over a game when you knew you should have won the game. Yeah. What can they do to not avoid a second loss this week against Syracuse?
You just got to put the Florida State game in perspective. Understanding that when you go watch the film, a lot of times the great thing about watching film is that you see it better. You have a better perspective. And you understand that, hey, if we would have done this better or we'd have done that better, we'd have won the game. And a lot of times, my advice is, man, you let it go. Maybe the fans or everybody else is talking about it, let them do that. But as a team, you got to let that be in the past. You got to learn from it, let it be in the past, and understand that we got a whole lot more games to go. And our beat down tour starts with Syracuse.
Yep.
And that's how you got to look at it. Like, from now on, we're going to play like we played against Florida State, but instead of getting that result that we don't want, we're going to make sure we get the results that we want all the time. So that means when you have an opportunity to make a play, make the play. Simple as that. You got an opportunity to make the field goal, make the field goal. You got an opportunity to catch a pass, catch that pass. You got an opportunity to score from a long distance, make sure nobody stops you from scoring. So it has to be a mindset when you go in to a game like Syracuse and say, we're going to beat these guys down.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to practice that way too, as we're going to be playing the game. I'm going to practice like I'm playing in the game. And then when you get into the game, it comes easier to you. You can't ever go into the game like, oh, well, these guys, forget all that distraction and say, hey, baby, I got to get ready for Saturday. We can party after the game. But during this week, I got to stay focused. I do. I got to stay focused. And I think that's how the Clemson Tigers have got to play. It's not so much talent, it's more mindset for these guys. And taking that mindset on the field and, quite honestly, smashing people. You got to start smashing people, letting people know that this is Clemson University and we don't play that.
Yeah.
And that's that street knowledge that I'm telling you about. That we gotta be a smart team, but we get on that field, we got to be nastier than what we are.
Yeah, this week, this is going to be a tough game because, first of all, let's just be honest, right? Syracuse has been a thorn in Clemson's side for a long time.
Yeah.
When Clemson's been good, gone in there with undefeated teams, they've struggled against Syracuse. When Syracuse has had bad teams, because they're just Dino Babers gets his team ready to play Clemson, and their scheme goes well against Clemson on both sides. And by the way, this is a very good Syracuse team. They're 4-0 right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're number one in the ACC, averaging 44.3 points per game. They're number two in the ACC in scoring defense, allowing just 10.8 points per game. And I know some people are out there saying, well, look who they played. Well, they played Colgate and teams like that. But they went on the road, Levon, a few weeks ago, and they beat a pretty good Purdue team at Purdue.
Yeah. And I think that's Schrader is the key to their offense. You have this guy is big, tall, and he can scramble and he can run. And he's the kind of guy, if they're in 3rd and 10, that can at least get them 8 to 9 yards so they can try it on 4th and 1. So you have got to make sure you bottle him in. They like to get an 11 personnel, which is mean one back, one tight end. They want to spread you out and go sideline to sideline. They want your defense to run. But I really think that what I saw Army do was Army ran the ball out. And I think when we've beaten Syracuse, we've worn them down.
Because they don't have the depth.
They don't have the depth, and they're kind of light in the pocket a little bit.
They're small. Hard. Their defensive front small.
That's what I'm saying. They're light in the pocket.
Okay, gotcha.
So they're gonna play. They're gonna play hard, and they're gonna make some splash plays. But I think you get this team and you run them in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
You run the ball. You don't ever forget about running the ball on them. You pound them and pound them. As a matter of fact, maybe you do play action at first down, and you try to get behind them. The one thing that we do that is kind of like, okay, it's kind of obvious sometimes. Our offense really predicates on us getting tempo. That means getting a lot of yards on 1st down. So
right.
We're not as effective when we're like 2nd and 11, 2nd and long, because you know what we normally do? We normally run the ball. It's easy. If I'm going against our offense, I'm like, we get them in 2nd and long, they're going to run the ball because they're going to be safe.
Yeah,
But
good
for
point.
us, man, maybe for us in this game, you kind of play action. You kind of get them off their heels a little bit. You do some jet sweeps. You do some different things to make them think like, whoa, this is not what we saw on film.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to get out of your own way in order to be effective and win games. I think that maybe you pass the ball early and then you wear them down. And I think this is the way you got to beat this Syracuse team. And Syracuse, they're going to play us tough, man. They always play us tough for whatever reason.
And this quarterback they got, as you mentioned, Garrett Schrader.
Yeah.
The kid is 6'4", weighs about 230.
Yeah.
It's like basically playing a young Ben Roethlisberger, if you will.
Yes.
I remember last year, Clemson guys were just bouncing off of him because he's so hard to bring down. He's averaging 90 yards a game rushing.
Mm-hmm.
So he can run. Dabo talked about it today. The RPO game centers around him, obviously, and he can run the football if he needs to. He can scramble if he needs to, and he's also got an arm where he can throw it 75 yards if he needs to.
Right.
Where I do know he still struggles with accuracy when he has to sit in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the key to this game. Wes has got to keep him in the pocket. You got to tell the defensive ends, do not rush upfield and give up those rush lanes because this guy will skedat on you. And so you got to contain him, keep him in the pocket, make him throw the ball from the pocket. If Clemson does that, that increases their chances of getting off the field early.
Yeah, no question about that. When a quarterback who can scramble that way, when you try to get upfield to get a sack, he's just going to take that alley that you leave him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to be trying to do some different things. And the only thing you got to do is try to rush lane this guy. If you can rush lane him and keep him in the pocket, like you said, he has a tough time passing the ball. But what he does do well, if he starts running the ball well and he can do both, then he presents a problem.
Yes. And as you know, a running quarterback is a hard quarterback. You just don't want to mess with that guy.
No, man. And if you get an opportunity, you want to tattoo him. You want to make sure you hit him. But he's the kind of guy that you just don't want scrambling all over the place, especially between the tackles.
You definitely don't. So Clemson at Syracuse at 9. 9. What am I thinking? It's Clemson at Syracuse, noon ABC. From the I still call it the Carrier Dome. I know they name it something else now, but we're calling it the Carrier Dome. What are they going to do to me?
Yeah,
That's what we grew up calling it. I'm going to call it the Carrier Dome. It's like changing the name of Death Valley. All right, Levon, our pick six real fast. We'll go through these pretty good here. Interesting last week. I think you did pretty good overall. I think you're 4-2. Again, doing your thing, man. And you're still sitting around 80% though for the season. I mean, this guy gets, and we pick against the spread, by the way, for the people who are just joining us for the first time. We don't just like pick straight up games. We go against the spread. So Levon winning 80% of the time. The guy should have been in Las Vegas last week instead of Mexico City. I mean, in betting so he can make some money.
Yeah. But Mexico City was so outstanding. I'm telling you, Will, you would fit right in, man. I'm telling you, if you love the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers, go to Mexico City.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
They need to play a regular season game at Mexico City.
Well, they've talked about it. The only thing is the Steelers said they don't want to lose the Steelers' home game to do it. So they're going to have to be somebody else's home game. So whether it's Jacksonville or somebody like that who's willing to give up a home game. Mr. Rooney's not willing to give up a home game to do it.
I understand that quite well why he wouldn't, but they love the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's awesome, man. It's awesome to see that. And so anyway, we'll go ahead and get started on this. Interesting game Friday night. Big game for former Clemson quarterback DJ Uiagalelei as Utah, number 10 in the country, comes in and plays number 19 Oregon State. Oregon State is a 3.5-point favorite in this game, Levon. Yeah. Surprising there. Aren't you a little surprised by that line? I know I am.
Well, that's why I gave you the rock eyebrow there. Yeah. I'm going to take Utah with the points on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you on this too. I like Utah's defense. I like the way they play the game. DJ hasn't played well the last 2 weeks. Struggled at Washington State, struggled the week before as well. I think we're seeing some of the same things he did when he's at Clemson, and so, I like Utah's defense in this against DJ. I think they can give him some problems, and their linebackers are really good.
Yeah.
Give me Utah. I'm taking the plus 3.5 as well on that one.
That's correct. Yep.
Southern Cal is a 21.5 point favorite at Colorado. Southern Cal, number 8 in the country. Levon, this game is going to be, I don't know what the over and under is. I haven't looked to see what it is, but I got to imagine it's pretty high. Go ahead. Give me your thoughts on this.
Wow. Well, I think Colorado, I think they took a licking, which I kind of predict they would have taken a licking against Oregon.
Yep.
I think it's going to be some of the same, but I think they're going to play a little bit better, but I'm still going to take USC in the points.
Yes, I'm with you on the points. By the way, the over and under set at 73.5.
Mm-hmm. But I think Colorado will play better. I like what Coach Prime is doing there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they won 3 games. I mean, I didn't think they were going to win any, to be honest with you. But I think they would give. I think it's going to be a better game than it was the Oregon game. But Caleb Williams is so good at quarterback. There's a reason why he is thought to be maybe the second person to ever win a Heisman Trophy twice in a row, because he's that good. He's a playmaker.
He is. He doesn't get talked about enough because they haven't really played anybody yet. Nobody's really talked about him. And they're going to get his opportunities here in a few weeks when they start playing the big games.
It's going to be on the big stage. I think that the one thing I saw with the secondary of Colorado is sometimes they become very undisciplined.
Yeah.
And when they do that, he's going to eat them alive.
He's going to eat them alive. If Oregon did what they did last week, I look at this, they'll score. Colorado will score more in this game because USC's defense just isn't very good. But
I like USC on this one.
I think Southern Cal's to score a lot too. Yeah. I'm going to go Southern Cal plus the 21.5 as well. So look for that. Big SEC game. And I'm surprised Kentucky still isn't ranked yet. I don't know why they're not. They're 4-0. They're playing good football. Former NC State quarterbacks over there now. Florida comes to town. Noon kickoff on ESPN. The 22nd Gators are 3-1. Kentucky's a 1-point favorite in this game.
Wow, that's going to be a tough one. I tell you, Billy Napier, who was on the chopping block the first week, but they played a great team in Utah, and now he's playing better. Got a good win against Tennessee. Man, this was a close. I'm going to take Florida in the points.
Really? Yeah, I'm taking Kentucky straight up on this. I think Kentucky.
I can see why.
Yeah, Kentucky's playing good. I like their defense. I think they're going to cause Florida some troubles that, we've saw in that first game against Utah. They're on the road. I still don't like that Florida offensive line. So I'm going to take Kentucky in this just because I like Stoops and that defense. And,
I get you. I get it.
So I'm going with Kentucky. Next game, for the first time this year, the Georgia Bulldogs are on the road.
What?
Crazy, week 5, and they're finally going on the road.
And they still got 5 more home games.
But Georgia plays at Auburn, rivalry game on CBS 3:30. Georgia is a 14.5-point favorite in this game. Auburn got manhandled last week by Texas A&M on the road. They haven't looked good in other games, but this is a rivalry game. You tell me what you think.
Yeah, that Auburn game kind of discouraged me last week. I mean, how they played. I'm gonna take Georgia in the points.
You're gonna take Georgia in the points.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though I still think Georgia is a quality team, the number 1 team out there. Are they what they were last year and the year before? And I don't think so. The last couple of years, they were just a machine. They lost a lot, and I just think they're not as good. But I look at Auburn, and Auburn has a lot of work to be done.
All right. Well, I'm leaning against you again, man. You're going against each other a lot in this one.
I know.
I think Auburn covers in this game. I think Georgia wins the game, but Georgia just hasn't They didn't look good against South Carolina. They messed around last week against UAB. Didn't look really all that good for a whole half. Kind of did that in their other games. First road game against a rival. I think the Auburn people will be ready. I think Auburn makes this a fun game to where we're all going to be like by 7:30, we're going to be staring at the thing thinking, oh my gosh, is Georgia going to blow this? So go ahead and give me Auburn minus the 14.5, plus the 14.5, excuse me. I think Auburn covers with this game. They don't win it, but they'll cover.
No, I don't think they're going to win it, but I'm going to take Georgia.
Okay. All right. Next game, another ranked SEC game. Number 13, LSU, 3-1 at number 20, also a rivalry game. At number 20, Ole Miss. LSU is a 2.5-point favorite on the road. Ole Miss coming off that loss to Alabama last week. LSU's won 3 straight games. Daniels has looked really good throwing the football. What do you think?
I'm not really a big fan of LSU. I'm just not.
All right.
So I'm going to just go against them. I'm going to say Ole Miss.
Wow.
They may win the game outright, but I'm going to go with Ole Miss on this one.
Are you going to go with Ole Miss plus the 2.5? Yeah, I am plus the 2.5, sorry. So I'm kind of with you on this one. I feel like, it's time for our boy Lane Kiffin to get a big win.
Yeah.
And this is a rivalry game, and a lot of people still say LSU could run the table and make the playoffs. They would have a good quality loss to Florida State, right? So I'm with you on this. I think Ole Miss at home, maybe they get it done on a rivalry game that's this close. You get 2 teams that are this close, supposedly. I'm with you. Give me Ole Miss plus the 2.5 as well. All right, and then last game is the Clemson Tigers. As we look at this game and predict it, you got Clemson, a 7-point favorite at 4-0 Syracuse, noon kickoff on ABC. Do you think the Tigers cover the 7?
Yes, I do. I just wasn't really impressed with Syracuse. I think they're very well coached. I love Coach Favors. I do. I think he does a great job of what he has at Syracuse. But I think Clemson is on the verge of showing everybody how talented they are. It's going to take a good mindset because it's hard to go to Syracuse and play in that dome. It's an afternoon game. I understand that. The Clemson fans don't like noon games. But I think it's time for the Tigers to really get back on track. And I think this is a game they're going to get back on track and win straight up. But I think I'm going to take Clemson with the 7.
All right. I like it because you called Florida State last week and you got the win. I got the loss. But I would have won had Clemson just not fumbled there. Not that it's Cade's fault. It's not his fault. But that play is what changed the game.
That play was crucial.
Yeah, I said 31-17, and it was 24-17, and Clemson was going in to make it 31-17 at that point. I felt real good about my prediction and what was going on. This week, it's a 7-point spread. I think Clemson wins it. I'm giving Clemson the win, but it ain't going to be easy, Levon. It ain't going to be easy. I think the Tigers win this by 6 points. So give me Syracuse on the +7 there. But I think the Tigers win it 23-17. I think Clemson's defense is going to play well again, continue to do what they've been doing. Offensively, though, that dome, it's a difficult place to play in because of the sight lines and stuff. Right. Trevor Lawrence struggled in it. Deshaun Watson struggled in it. Taj Boyd struggled in it. I know Cade's going to struggle in it. DJ struggled in it. Every quarterback that's played at Clemson, Kelly Bryant, has struggled in it when they went up and played in that dome because it's hard to me, it's like a hard game for a quarterback and wide receivers playing.
Yeah, if you haven't played in that indoor atmosphere, it is tougher.
Yeah.
Even as a player, it's tougher. I've been where you play outside for the most part, and then you go to a dome environment, and it's tougher. I hate playing in domes. So I totally get what you're saying. But I think if the Tigers can run the ball and wear this team, the up front down, then they're going to be very successful.
Yeah, and that's why I want to see how Garrett Riley calls this game.
Right.
Because I don't think he's ever called a game in a dome.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be different for him too. He's down on the field. He calls the plays from the sideline. It's just a different field that, you're right on top of the field. The players are, there is no space, but it's like, it's almost like
it's basketball.
What do you call it? Arena league. It's almost like arena league football almost.
Yeah.
The players are right on the
yes.
field. It's like there's no much space at all. The crowd is right on top of you. It's a different kind of atmosphere and environment than a normal college football game. That's what makes it different, and that's what makes it a unique place to play at.
And you go into Syracuse, man, and some places you're just not looking forward to going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just like Syracuse.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's
if
like
anybody's ever been to Syracuse, do you understand why
Levon
says
to Wallace Wade Stadium at Duke? You just like, geez.
Yeah. Now the good news is there'll be a good crowd there, so Clemson won't have to make their own energy. It won't be like there'll be more Clemson fans than Syracuse fans. It'll be more Syracuse fans. It'll be a hostile environment. That'll be good for Kay to see how he handles it, because Duke, there was more Clemson fans at that Duke game than there were Duke fans.
Sure.
And so even though it was a good atmosphere for Duke, but not like what Clemson's going to see up here at Syracuse, where it's going to be all Syracuse orange.
Very loud. It's going to be very loud.
They're going to be loud.
It's going to be something that you got to handle.
Exactly.
But you can't go there sleepwalking, because you will come back with an L.
Yeah.
But if you can go in there and focus and play the way that I think Clemson is capable of playing, then they should win this game. I'm
with you. I think Clemson, they win, but they don't cover. You got Clemson covering. So I say 23-17 is my score. So it's going to be another nerve-wracking game, I think, for the Tigers and their fans. Levon, real fast before we get out of here, our extra point segment, just want to kind of talk about that a little bit real fast. So hold on a second. Just apologize. The fans, I want to talk about this extra point because you got a lot of people ask some comments. Stephen Smith, and not the Stephen Smith from ESPN.
Stephen A. Smith. This is just Stephen Smith.
Yes, Stephen Smith. He wanted to ask, or he said that he thought that Dabo and the coaching staff got the L on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was more coaching than the players and the effort. It seemed like the first game, it was more so players and not having the effort. This game felt like the players played pretty well. And I felt like they actually played better than Florida State, and they probably should have won this game. But yeah, we made some decisions that I'm still kind of scratching my head over a little bit, especially that last drive before the halftime. I thought we played not to lose or not to give up a touchdown. And that's exactly what we did. So, yeah, I see it more coaches. We got to get better.
Scott Millsap on Facebook says he wonders if Briningstool will get some snaps at the boundary in place of Randall so they can bring in another tight end, maybe as a backup to block. He says we need a 6'5" guy at the boundary on an occasion to do the 50-50 balls along the sideline. I want to answer that first. I'll let you, Levon, go after that. I don't think so. First of all, Adam Randall had a pretty good game last week. He really kind of showed up. He did catch one 50-50 ball that came to him. The other, he didn't. But, hey, he got the first one. It was a big play. I thought he played well overall. So I don't know if you take him off the field because I think he's starting to play well. I do know they're going to bring in Troy Stellato. And you're going to see a lot more of him this week, and deservedly so. He looked really good last week.
That's a pretty good game.
But your thoughts on Scott's question here about Briningstool playing maybe more at boundary?
I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you, but I think you got to do something with Randall as well. I think you got to find a way to get him the ball, but I like Briningstool. I think Briningstool is a matchup problem for most defenses. To be that tall, the guy can go get the ball. So I don't know if you put him in the boundary or you don't, but I know what you need to do is get him the ball in certain situations, especially in the red zone, especially on maybe 3rd and 5. You got to be able to get him the ball. And also with him, you can take advantage of him, going down the seam.
Right.
Because he moves pretty well. And so I just think you got to find a way to get him the ball. I don't know if that's the answer or not, but Riddleston has got to get the ball more.
And then last comment, and we'll kind of take it as a question. It's more of a comment. But so Austin over on Facebook, Austin DeBose, he was wondering about all the holding calls on Xavier Thomas that were pretty bad. So I'm asking you, Levon, when you're in that situation, I saw Xavier one time talk to the referee, went over and said something to him. What do you do in that situation if you know you're continuously getting held and it's bad and it's right in front of the referee and he's not calling them? How do you handle that situation?
I think even before the game, you got to let them know that this number is holding me. Like I will always, I'm really not, well, I'm not an outside linebacker, but even back in the day, you go to the referee and you say, like, this guy is holding me. Watch him, and they'll tell you, they'll be like, okay. And the more you kind of make, you don't go to them and be like, hey man, he's holding me, because honestly, those referees have feelings, and sometimes they will hide that flag before they throw it. So I think you just go to the ref and say, hey, just what, he's kind of holding me a little bit. Watch him holding me. And I think that sometimes they may give you a break and throw it. But if I'm Xavier Thomas, it's a compliment. I just think Xavier has got to find another counter move to what he does coming off the ball.
Right. Yeah, and that'll help maybe, and we'll see if he does, and they'll try to. I'm sure it's something they talked about this week, and I'm sure, like you said, if you're Dabo Swinney and the coaching staff, you point that out to the referees beforehand. Hey, watch, number 3 gets held a lot. I need you to help me out a little bit, so they're not just holding on to him the whole game. So yeah,
that was one holding call.
It was egregious.
That was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was just there was one holding call. It was one holding call, and then there's one hands to the face. And I'm like, okay, you can miss the holding call, but you can't miss the hands to the face. Man. Yeah. You cannot do that. That's unacceptable, because if that's the quarterback, you're throwing it every day.
No question about it.
No
question about it.
So
I was happy to see my man XT do what he does.
XT earned some money, I think, the other day. If he keeps it up, he's going to earn a lot of money.
No question about it.
So anyway, well, Levon, appreciate you, buddy. We appreciate all the people out there in all on YouTube. We appreciate you. If you could,
thank you guys.
Yes, absolutely. If you could, YouTube, give us a like and subscribe to the Clemson Insider. We definitely appreciate that. On Facebook, give us a thumbs up as well. We appreciate that as well. Leave a comment, all those things. We appreciate you on Twitter. Wish we could get the questions from Twitter, because we do get some comments from Twitter and stuff, but we can't see those on our program that we use. They don't come through like they do the other ones. So, but anyway, for Levon Kirkland, I'm Will Vandervort. We'll see you next week and talk to you later when we talk more about Bleav in Clemson football with Levon Kirkland.